everybody. So today I got to see the latest Disney live action remake-ish kind of film, Christopher Robin, and I was actually really excited about this one. I haven't been a big fan of most of these remakes. I did like Pete's Dragon, and I liked Cinderella. Jungle Book was okay, but for the most part, I haven't been a big fan of these movies. So I I don't know, but what I was hoping was when I saw the trailers and things for this, I was hoping that it would be kind of like Pete's Dragon in the sense that it wasn't really a remake of the, old Winnie the Pooh, and it would be something new and something different. And in its defense, it is something different and new, but yeah, so it was one of my most anticipated of the year, to be honest. I was pretty excited despite my usual hesitancy for these live action remakes. And so I was pretty excited. And I took my niece, and so my niece actually gave her review. So I'm going to put that in here. You just have her audio. And my niece now, she's 10, and so you can hear what she thought about it. And then I will share my thoughts about it after. What did you think about Christopher Robin?
I really like Christopher Robin. I thought it was a really good movie. I just liked how it had such a sweet message. Think about something else. Think about your family, think about your friends. Don't get over obsessed with something.
With work?
Don't get. Well, it can be other things than work. It didn't have to be work. I mean, work's not the only thing you could get obsessed over, but I just thought, they did a really good job with that.
What did you think of the way that they looked, the Pooh and Eeyore and all them?
I think they did a perfect job with Eeyore and his sadness.
Yeah.
Just his, droopy eyes.
Yeah. And
they did a good job with Tigger too.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks different in the books because in the books his stripes are a little bit darker, but he was older, so I think they did a good job making him making all of them look a little bit older, a little bit more faded. I mean, they're still themselves, but they look different.
Did you feel like Christopher really learned his lesson by the end of the movie?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it was funny, the part at the end where, it showed them all on vacation.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I like the thing, the nothing is something. One part that I thought was hilarious is the part, where Winnie the Pooh said, people say nothing isn't impossible, but I do nothing every day.
Right.
I just thought it was really funny.
Yeah, that was pretty cute. Well, cool. Thanks. That is my niece now. So she liked it. She thought it had a really nice message. And I think in the core, it's trying to have a nice message. And it's trying to do something in the vein of Mary Poppins, where in Mary Poppins you have Mr. Banks learning to put his family first and to savor the moments of his family, and it's such a beautiful, moving, wonderful movie, and I think that's what they were trying to do, and I'm glad that my niece got that message. But I didn't enjoy the film, and it had some nice moments and some things that I liked, and I did like the overall general aesthetic. I liked the fact that they looked kind of similar to the more the original illustrations, as opposed to the animated films. I liked that they looked sort of used and fluffy, and I don't know. I did like the aesthetic, and I liked the CG on them. I thought that was all good. I didn't mind the color palette. I thought it was kind of washed out, but I thought it was sort of pretty. It was sort of almost a sepia sort of tone to it. The problem I had with this movie is that I think that it didn't have any whimsy to it. It felt kind of cynical to me. And I get that he learns his lesson, but for so much of the movie, Christopher Robin, played by Ian McGregor, is kind of a jerk. And so you kind of have to deal with him being a jerk to Pooh. My favorite scene in the movie is the scene where Pooh gets lost in a train station. And that scene was fun. That had some whimsy to it. And this, him wanting this balloon and things. And I do think that this movie is hurt by the fact that Paddington just came out and it's so great. And it does so many things right as far as whimsy and love and kindness and a great message and everything like that. And it's a little hard to explain. And I'm gonna have a podcast with my friend Conrado where we are going to talk about this in depth, and that'll give me, and it's going to be on Tuesday that we'll record it. So that'll give me a couple days to kind of think through it a little bit more. But I don't know. I just found it kind of a downer. I felt depressed. And that's not what I want out of Winnie the Pooh. You know, Winnie the Pooh should be kind and loving. And yeah, I mean, people will relate to Hook, and Hook has lots of problems, but it does have some scenes of whimsy. And I just needed more of that for this film. I needed more scenes that felt magical, that felt sweet, that felt, I don't know, I just love Winnie the Pooh so much. I think actually The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, it's in my top 10 favorite Disney movies. And so I actually think it's kind of sometimes underrated because people just dismiss it because it's just a kid's movie. But I think that that Winnie the Pooh has something to say about life and stopping to sort of smell the roses and enjoy honey and the different personalities and how they interact with each other. And I love the ending of The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This scene where they talk about doing nothing, and Christopher says to Pooh that's his favorite thing to do is to do nothing. And he says, and Pooh says, "How do you do just nothing?" Christopher Robin says, "Well, it's when grown-ups ask, 'What are you going to do?' and you say nothing. And then you go out and do it." Pooh says, "I like that. Let's do it all the time." Christopher says, "You know something, Pooh? I'm not going to do just nothing anymore." And Pooh says, "You mean never again?" Christopher says, "Well, not so much, Pooh. When I'm away just doing nothing, will you come up here sometime?" Pooh says, "You mean alone? Just me?" Christopher says, "Yes. And Pooh, promise you won't forget me? Ever?" Pooh says, "Oh, I won't, Christopher. I promise." And then Christopher says, "Not even when I'm 100?" Pooh says, "How old should I be then?" And Christopher says, 99, silly old bear. And then we get the narrator says, "Wherever they go and whatever happens to them on the way, in that enchanted place on the top of the forest, a little bear will always be waiting." In this one, you have Winnie the Pooh asking Christopher to never forget him. He says, "What should happen if you forget about me?" And young Christopher says, "Silly old bear, I wouldn't ever forget about you. Pooh, I promise, not even when I'm 100. And then he proceeds to forget about him and end up becoming this person. And the movie wants us to judge, I think, Christopher as sort of a bad person, that he's like neglecting his family, that he's neglecting his and the thing is that this whole workaholic dad thing, the thing is that like he is trying really hard to bring in a living for his family. It's such kind of a caricature, and I think that the reason why it works in movies like Mary Poppins is that in Mary Poppins there's so much whimsy, and it's such a nuanced lesson that he learns, and the movie is pretty easy on him, and you get this contrast between the Feed the Birds and The Life I Lead. And so it's really interesting. You see this moving journey, but there's all this other whimsy that I think helps. And in this case, I don't know, like it just felt kind of sad, and I was kind of depressed while watching it, and it didn't feel magical to me. It didn't feel fun to me. And it just felt like, well, great. That's great to know that Christopher Robin turned into, that he forgot his promise that he made to Winnie the Pooh, which he promised he would never forget. And that made me sad. And there was just a lot of it that kind of made me sad. And maybe I'm just a grumpy old adult, but towards the end, it kind of gets a little bit fun again. Isn't a sweet, lovely message about remembering who you are and remembering your childhood, and that I wanted to see, and it didn't replace it with a message that I thought was interesting or moving. And so it was just kind of cranky, gloomy characters. Christopher, falling into pools and getting messy, and I don't know. I just didn't like it. It's hard to explain, I guess, but it was just a matter of tone and what I thought that the film was really kind of teaching about. I don't know. There just wasn't enough whimsy. It wasn't magical enough. It didn't take me back to my childhood or make me feel good. Yeah, I don't know. I can't have another way to explain it. So I wasn't a big fan of this one, despite some things that I liked, but it was really fun to go with my niece. So there you go. That's my thoughts. I'm sorry it's kind of jumbled. Like I said, I'm going to do the podcast this week, and I'll have a lot more to say then, and we can kind of hash it out and talk it through, and that'll be really good. So there you go. Let me know if you got to see it, what you thought from all that jumbled mess, if you agree with me or not. And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later.